Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, because what happened to me could happen to anyone. And trust me, by the time I found my own bed dumped in the garage like a piece of trash, it was already too late to turn back. My name is Loretta Mae Johnson, 71 years old, born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, but I'd been living in East Point, Georgia ever since my husband Charles passed away. 46 years of marriage, and just like that, he was gone. Cancer took him fast. Too fast. The house we lived in, the same house Charles built with his bare hands in 1983, had been my whole world. Every board, every crack in the porch, every creaky floorboard in the hallway carried his spirit. I kept that place going even when grief was trying to drown me. I kept the roses alive in the front yard even though I hated bending down these days. I cooked meals I couldn't finish just to fill the kitchen with smells that reminded me of him. I thought I was doing all right until my children started visiting more often. Don't get me wrong, I love my kids. I raised both of them with a fire in my soul and the belt on the wall. Denise, my oldest, is a dental hygienist who thinks she's too good for the South now that she's living in D.C. And my youngest, Darren, well, Darren is 39 and still trying to find himself, which apparently means crashing in my guest room half the year and borrowing cash without ever paying it back. At first, I was just glad to have the company. They told me they were worried about me living alone, that it wasn't safe for a woman my age, that the neighborhood had changed, that I should consider downsizing. That word, downsizing, became their favorite knife to twist. "You don't need all this space, Mama," Denise said one afternoon, standing in the middle of my living room like a real estate agent already envisioning her cut. "4 bedrooms? For who?" "For me," I answered, setting her tea down a little too hard. "For my memories, for peace and quiet, for my life." She just gave me that look. You know the one. The look your own children give you when they think they're smarter than you, when they think age equals senility. But the worst part was, Darren stayed quiet. Just sat there eating my sweet potato pie, nodding at everything his sister said. That should have been my first warning sign, but I brushed it off. I was tired. I wanted to believe they cared. Then came the day I went out for my morning walk. Just 20 minutes around the block. When I came back, I found something waiting for me that shattered everything. My bedroom was empty. Not messy, not disorganized. Empty. I blinked 3 times, stepped back, looked again. Gone was the cherrywood bed frame Charles and I bought the year Darren was born. Gone was the mattress we'd slept on for decades. The dresser, the nightstands, the little lamp with the lace shade, all gone, in their place. A white crib, pastel wallpaper, a rocking chair that didn't belong to me. My first thought was I'd walked into the wrong house. Then I heard Denise's voice down the hall. "She's gonna freak out, Darren. You should have waited." No. I turned and marched straight to the garage. I didn't even know why. And there it was. My bed, my entire bedroom shoved into the garage like a pile of old junk, the headboard leaning against the water heater, the mattress half exposed and sagging, my husband's favorite pillow, the one with the lopsided embroidered cross, face down on the concrete floor. I stood there in silence, hands shaking. I didn't scream, didn't cry. I just whispered, "What did you do?" If only I had known then what they were planning next, what they were really trying to do to me. I would have never waited a second longer. But the moment I found my bed in the garage, I knew I had to fight back. You'll want to hear what came next? They thought I was old, soft, confused, but when I walked into my own bedroom and found a crib where my bed used to be, I realized something real clear. I'd raised fools, and fools forget who holds the deed. I didn't move for what felt like 5 full minutes, just stood there in the garage looking at my life in pieces, mattress slumped like a wounded animal, dresser drawers dangling half open like they'd been tossed around. My late husband's tie box cracked open, ties spilling out like veins. The smell of motor oil and cardboard made my throat burn. That was our bed, where I brought my babies home, where I held my Charles through his chemo, where I laid alone every night for the last 7 years, whispering to God to give me one more sunrise, and they tossed it in the garage like it was an old ragged sofa. I walked back into the house slowly. My legs didn't feel like they belonged to me. I followed the sounds, voices from the kitchen, laughter like nothing had happened. Denise was on her phone leaning against my counter. Darren was eating out of a takeout box. I stared at them like strangers. You moved my things. Denise didn't even flinch. Mama, listen. This is going to be better for everyone. We converted your room into a nursery. We're going to have the baby live here for the first year. It's quieter. The crib's already set up. You what? She looked at Darren like she expected him to jump in. He didn't. Of course he didn't. I thought we agreed you'd use the guest room, I said. My voice was low, trembling. Not mine. Darren finally spoke. Mama, the guest room is too small and you don't need that big space. We figured you'd be more comfortable in the den. We already put your bed... The garage, Darren, I said. You put my bed in the garage. Denise rolled her eyes. God, Mama, don't be dramatic. Don't be dramatic. That's what they said when I asked why they were reorganizing my kitchen without asking. That's what they said when I noticed half my china had disappeared. That's what they said when Darren started bringing in boxes without telling me what they were for. This wasn't about comfort. This wasn't about the baby. This was about control. You've forgotten something, I said. Denise frowned. What? I own this house, she laughed. Technically, it's in a trust now. No. I own this house. Charles left it to me, free and clear. You put your names on that trust so you could help manage the property, not take it over. They went silent. I stepped closer, and for the first time in a long time, I felt that old heat rise up in me, the one that got me through the marches in the 60s, the one that raised 2 kids with a belt and a Bible. I was willing to share my space. I was willing to cook for you. But the moment you moved my bed, the moment you replaced my life with your plans, you made a choice, and now I'm making mine. Denise's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? I'm saying you have 48 hours to get out. They thought I was bluffing. They thought I'd calm down. But what I did that night shocked even me. Let's just say I didn't wait those 48 hours, and I didn't need their permission to sell a damn thing. The rest of that night passed like a dream. Not the good kind, the kind where you're falling down a hole that never ends. Every creak of the floor felt like betrayal. Every sound from the baby monitor, not mine, felt like an alarm in my bones. They didn't come back to apologize, not even once. I slept on the couch with a blanket over my knees and a heart too full to close. By morning, my mind was sharp, clear. I made 2 phone calls, one to Nancy Ford, my church friend and local real estate agent, the one with the big blonde hair and the loudest Sunday hats. She picked up on the second ring. Girl, it's been too long. How's Charles? I swallowed. Charles is gone, Nancy. Silence. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry, I exhaled, but I need your help. Nancy showed up that afternoon like a hurricane in heels, bright red pantsuit, binder already in hand. She didn't even ask for details. You ready to list? Ready to sell, she blinked. Just like that? Just like that. I gave her the full walkthrough, pointing out the strong bones, the recent plumbing work, the attic Charles insulated himself back in '96. I showed her the roses, the porch swing, the dent in the fridge where Darren once threw a football indoors. We stopped in the den, the one that used to be my bedroom, and I hesitated. Nancy saw it on my face. This room's yours, isn't it? Was, I said. Now it's storage, she nodded slowly. I'll keep the listing quiet, discreet, off-market buyers only. We'll get it gone before your kids can say inheritance. I looked her dead in the eye. There will be no inheritance. I spent the evening packing small things, not the sentimental ones, not yet, but the things I'd need when I left, because I wasn't going to wait for them to come crawling back with excuses. I wasn't going to argue about who deserved what. I was going to leave, and I was going to take everything I owned with me. By the next morning, Nancy had 2 cash offers, one from a retired couple moving from New Jersey, one from a developer with a 6-figure check and a 10-day close. I didn't blink. Take the second. That night, I told Denise and Darren over dinner. Macaroni and cheese, roasted okra, and silence. I sold the house, I said. Denise blinked. You what? I sold it. Yesterday. Closing's next week. Darren dropped his fork. Denise laughed, short, sharp, like a blade. You're not serious. I looked her in the eye. Dead serious. You have 5 days to move. You can't do that, Darren stammered. We live here. No, I said slow and steady. I live here. You squatted, you stole, you disrespected the one woman who kept this family from falling apart after Charles died. And now you're going to feel what it's like to be pushed out of a place that used to feel like home. Denise stood up. Mama, you're being vindictive. You're not thinking clearly. This isn't you. I stood up too. This is me, the version of me that buried her husband alone, that raised two ungrateful children, that paid every tax, mowed every lawn, and kept this house out of foreclosure more times than you ever knew. I placed the check on the table. Folded, neat, undeniable. Your version of me was never real, baby, but this is the woman you forgot could still stand on her own. They thought I'd die in that house. Quiet, obedient, disposable. But they forgot who paid for every nail in that floor, and by the time they realized they couldn't stop me, it was already gone. They called me crazy, selfish, bitter. But when I closed that front door behind me for the last time, I didn't look back. I didn't just sell the house. I freed myself from a life where I wasn't allowed to take up space. I left the house at sunrise. I didn't wait for them to wake up. I didn't say goodbye. The moving truck came quietly at 5:30 a.m. The driver, a young man named Oscar with sleepy eyes and gospel playing on the radio, didn't ask questions, just loaded my things with careful hands and soft silence. I sat in the front seat of my 2007 Buick, watching the house grow smaller in the rearview mirror. No tears, no second thoughts, just the sound of gravel under the tires and the soft echo of my own breathing. You'd think after 40 years leaving would hurt more, but no, staying would have hurt worse. I moved into a small rental near Lake Claire, 1 story, 2 bedrooms, wide windows, and peace, real peace, the kind that settles in your bones when no one's asking you to shrink or sacrifice. I bought a new bed. Firm, simple, queen size, just for me. I lit candles every night. Lavender, eucalyptus, things that Charles never liked, but I always did. I took long baths with jazz humming through my phone speaker. I cooked small meals, just enough for one. No leftovers, no expectations. And for the first time in years, I slept like a child. Denise sent a text 3 days later. I hope you're proud of what you've done. No greeting, no punctuation. I didn't answer. An hour later, Darren called. Voicemail. Mama, I know we messed up, but this whole selling the house thing, that's low. You could have talked to us. We're your kids. I deleted the message because here's what they never understood. You don't get to treat your mother like a tenant and still expect to inherit her kingdom. I found a church 2 blocks from the new place. Mount Olive Baptist. The choir wasn't as sharp as our old one, and the pastor was a bit long-winded, but the pews were warm and the people kinder than any family I'd known in months. Sister Rosetta, who sat beside me on the second Sunday, invited me to the women's circle. By the 3rd week, I was baking cornbread for Wednesday nights. By the 5th, they were calling me Miss Loretta like I'd always been there. Funny how strangers can fill holes that blood relatives leave wide open, but peace never stays untouched. One afternoon, just as I was watering the lilies out front, a black SUV pulled up. Tinted windows, engine humming. I knew it was Darren before I even saw him step out. Mama, he said, walking up the path with a stiff smile. Nice place. I didn't invite him in. He stood there, trying to look calm, but his eyes darted everywhere, judging, calculating. I wanted to talk, he said finally, face to face. So, talk. He hesitated. Denise and I, we're in trouble. I didn't respond. He went on. The buyer said the trust got dissolved when you sold. They're threatening legal stuff. Denise lost her job. The baby's been sick. We're not doing good. I crossed my arms. He shifted. You still have the check, right? You haven't spent it all? I almost laughed. You think I sold my home to bankroll your mistakes? It was our home. No, I cut in. It was mine. You just lived there like you were owed something. He looked like he wanted to cry or punch something. Mama, he said softly, we got nowhere else to go. I stared at him a long time, this grown man, my son, the same one who once asked me to kiss his scraped knee and said he'd take care of me when I got old. That boy was gone. I told you once, Darren, you moved me out of my room, out of my place, out of your hearts, and now you want back in? Silence. I stepped forward, looked him in the eye. I got space in my new house, I said, but not for grown men who only remember their mother when they need something. Then I turned and walked inside and locked the door behind me. They thought they could push me aside and come back when it suited them. But I'd already found something more powerful than revenge. I found peace. And peace doesn't make room for guilt. A week passed after Darren showed up on my porch. I thought maybe that was it. Maybe the silence after would be enough for them to think. Maybe they'd finally get the message, but no. See, when some people lose control, they don't learn. They double down. And my daughter, she came swinging. It was a Tuesday when the letter arrived. Thick white envelope, certified mail, my name in heavy print. From a law office in Washington, D.C., Denise. Inside, 4 pages of legal jargon. Claims, petitions. Concern for mental fitness. A request for conservatorship. She was trying to have me declared incompetent. I sat down slowly at the kitchen table, laid the paper flat, read it 3 times. Each word hit like a slap. She's exhibiting erratic behavior. She may not be capable of managing her finances. Sudden sale of family property without consultation. Refusal to communicate with the next of kin. They painted me like a danger to myself, as if selling my house meant I'd lost my mind, as if saying no to them was the same as being unfit. I didn't cry, not even once. Instead, I picked up the phone and called Gwen Holloway, my old sorority sister who'd practiced estate law in Georgia for 30 years. She met me the next morning with a pearl necklace and a sharp tongue. "Conservatorship?" she said, flipping through the letter. "They really think they can pull this?" "I guess they do," I said. She looked up steady. "Then let's show them what a competent woman can do." Over the next few days, Gwen helped me compile everything. The sale agreement, signed, notarized, undisputed, my medical records, clean bill of health, both physical and mental, testimony from my new neighbors and pastor, all affirming my independence and clarity. A notarized statement from Nancy Ford, the realtor, detailing my full understanding of the sale. She even arranged a psychological evaluation. "I'm not playing defense," Gwen said. "We're going on offense." And we did. We filed a formal response, strong, clear, backed with every piece of proof they didn't expect me to have. I didn't just defend my sanity. I defended my right to say no, my right to live alone, my right to be something other than someone else's backup plan. 3 days after we submitted the documents, I received a call from Denise. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice was cold, controlled, like a woman who realized she'd lost. "Mama," she said, "I didn't want it to be like this, but you made it hard. You've always been hard. I hope you're happy." Then silence. Then, "We were just trying to help." No apology, no remorse, just wounded pride pretending it was love. I didn't call back. Instead, I made tea, turned on some Sam Cooke, and sat on my porch as the sun set, wrapped in a blanket Charles once used when we'd sit outside and watch thunderstorms roll in. I wasn't angry, not anymore, because I knew something Denise and Darren didn't. Help doesn't come with eviction notices and forged trust papers. Help doesn't come with stolen bedrooms and lies to lawyers. Help listens. And they never did. The court date never came. Gwen called a week later with a smile in her voice. They dropped it. No motion, no hearing. I exhaled, slow and long. "They thought you were weak," she said. "They forgot who you are." And I remembered. Because you don't survive 71 years, Black, Southern, widowed, without learning how to fight soft, quiet, sharp, and final. Hay tried to take my house, then they tried to take my mind, but I was never theirs to control. And when a woman finally learns to own her silence, they can't handle the sound of it. They thought I'd fall apart when they left, but darling, I didn't just survive, I bloomed. You see, when you clear out the rot, the light finally gets in. And what grew in me after all that? That was something they could never steal. 6 months passed. 6 whole months since I signed that check, walked out of the house I helped build, and let go of the version of life everyone else expected me to live. And in those 6 months, I did something wild. I lived. No drama, no begging, no explaining, just morning walks by the lake, just jazz and cornbread and Sunday hats, just me. And it was enough. More than enough. I made friends in the neighborhood. Not the polite kind. Real ones. Miss Janice from across the way brought me pound cake every Friday. Leroy from the church helped fix my porch screen and then stayed to talk about blues music and whether God had a sense of humor. We both agreed he did. And then there was Raymond. Retired fireman, widower, always wore a pressed shirt and carried peppermints in his pocket like it was still 1952. First time I met him, he tipped his hat and said, "You got a name, or should I call you Beautiful and get slapped?" I laughed so hard I almost spilled my groceries. We started with small chats, then dinners, then gospel concerts, then silence on the porch that didn't feel awkward. It felt warm. And one night, as we watched the fireflies blink across the grass, he reached for my hand. Just like that. No speech, no game, just gentleness. Loretta, he said, you still got a whole lot of life in you, and if you'd let me, I'd like to share a piece of mine with it. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. Then, one Sunday after service, Denise showed up. No warning, just stood at the edge of my new walkway, clutching her purse like a weapon. I saw her through the kitchen window, took a deep breath, and stepped outside. She looked thinner, tired. The baby wasn't with her. "Hi, Mama," she said. I nodded. "Denise, I'm not here to fight." "Good," she swallowed. "I wanted to say I read your statement, the one your lawyer submitted, about Charles, about the house, about us." I didn't answer. She kept going. "You made your point, loud and clear." I let the silence hang. She sighed. "I wasn't trying to hurt you. I thought I was doing the right thing, controlling things. I didn't know how to watch you grow old." "I wasn't asking you to," I said. She looked down. "I know." More silence. Then she said, "Darren moved to Charlotte. He's trying to get his license back." I nodded. She hesitated. I'm getting divorced." I blinked. "Already?" She half smiled. "Yeah, turns out control runs in the family." And in that one moment, she stopped being the daughter who tried to take my freedom and became a woman trying to reclaim her own. "Do you want to come inside?" I asked softly. She looked surprised. "Really?" "There's pound cake and Raymond's out back arguing with a squirrel." She smiled for real that time. "I'd like that." And just like that, not everything was fixed, but something was mending. And maybe that was enough. A week after Denise's visit, I received a letter in the mail, handwritten, soft pink envelope, postmarked from Charlotte, from Darren. I sat with it in my lap for a long time, debating whether to even open it. But something in me, the part that still remembered his baby giggle, his runny nose on the first day of kindergarten, the way he once held my hand during his first thunderstorm, said, "Read it." So I did. "Mama, I didn't know how far I'd fallen until you stood up. Watching you leave that house, it shook me. I thought you'd always be there, no matter how we treated you. I thought love meant convenience. And I was wrong. I'm working now. Not much, but it's honest. I wake up at 5, just like you used to. I drink black coffee now. No sugar. And I think about you every day. I'm sorry for the bed, for the garage, for the way I let Denise take the lead when I knew it was wrong. You didn't deserve that. If you ever want to write back, I left my address. If not, I'll understand, but I just wanted you to know you didn't raise a fool, just a late bloomer. Your son, Darren." I folded the letter slowly, held it against my chest, and cried, not out of grief, not even out of anger, but because that apology had taken 40 years and 3 months longer than it should have, but it came, and it was real. Later that day, Raymond made catfish and brought over sweet tea. We sat on the porch watching the wind play with the trees. "You're quiet today," he said, handing me a plate. "Read a letter," I replied. He nodded slowly. "Good one?" "Better than I expected." He smiled. "You gonna write back?" I shrugged. "Maybe, maybe not, but I'm glad he wrote." Raymond leaned back, eyes squinting toward the sky. "You're a whole lot stronger than you let on." "I'm a woman who's been underestimated one too many times," I said. "Eventually you get tired of whispering." He raised his glass. "To loud women." I tapped mine against his. "And to late blooms." That night, I lit a candle for Charles, sat in my new bed, firm, soft, warm, and thought about the life we built, the parts I kept, the parts I outgrew, and then I whispered, like I used to in the dark, "You were right, old man. They needed to fall so they could stand." Then I blew out the candle and slept with the window open. Because for the first time in decades, the house didn't need to feel like a shelter. It felt like freedom.